It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
It's one Airbnb to retire. So I pay $700 a night for this Airbnb. As you can see, this is just an average setup. It's not anything fancy, but it's the location. If you take 700 times 30 days, that's $21,000 a month. This house probably goes for between $700 to $750,000. So when you go get a loan with a bank to buy a second home, don't tell them that it's going to be a rental, because if you tell them it's a rental, you have to put 20 to 25% down.
Lie to
so
them.
what you do is tell them that this is your secondary vacation house.
Fraud.
So you're only required to put 10% down.
Whenever you borrow money, you should lie about it.
I think he's thinking, look, my mortgage payment on this is going to be between $4,000 to $6,000 a month. I'm going to have cash flow coming in of $21,000 through my fraudulent
Right, because I don't have to put any money down on it.
statements to the bank, and what could go wrong? But that's still rosy and very optimistic.
And so I don't know if I were going to build an entire wealth empire, I would try to build the entire thing off of one single Airbnb. Perhaps it's not quite that easy.
And I also wouldn't build my empire off of fraud.
I also would not lie on federal paperwork when I go to borrow money.
What is a person that has $236?
Invest it all in yourself. You're already broke. Don't hold on to $236.
When I was 21, I was working for Bob Proctor, and I asked him, I was like, should I save money? He said the same thing. No, absolutely not. Especially at your age. Don't save anything. Because everybody was trying to tell me, like, oh, you should have a budget. And he's like, no, I still don't mess with budgets.
This is fascinating. Really?
That was the first time I heard it. The stress that saving at a young age causes versus putting that money to investing into yourself. Now it's like, once you have a project that you make $1 million, $500,000, or $250,000, whatever, then you can probably start to maneuver and think about that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it starts with a scratch-off ticket.
That's it. Once you have a project that makes you $250,000, then you start.
I would say if they weren't like professionally trained in boxing now, very punchable people in one table right there.
Hit them right
but
now,
I wouldn't want to be in the same room.
So
I need you to have my back.
It's ridiculous for someone to say that when you're young, you should not save. That's absolutely asinine. Because if you have $239, you would be amazed at what that could turn into for you. We have a koozie right there. It's what you drink your drinks out of that says $1 for a 21-year-old can turn into $88 by the time they retire at age 66. That's how powerful your dollars can be. So for somebody to say, oh, well, don't worry about saving when you're young, that is just foolishness. That is silly. That is ridiculous. That's horrible, horrible advice.
Well, we know wealth building requires several main ingredients and components. And the first thing I always tell people is understand deferred gratification, understand discipline. When they're telling you that has no component while you're young, essentially go live your best life. Don't worry about saving. Go land the $250,000 to $500,000. That might keep you tuned into their content because it's all aspirational, but it doesn't tell you how to build up to $250,000 to $500,000, because it doesn't all happen at once, unless maybe you have a scratch-off ticket or you win the lottery.
That's exactly right.
How can I make 10K as a teenager? That's easy. Drive around town and look for underperforming properties. Then what? Get it under contract and go on Craigslist. That's easy. What else? Find a real estate investor and sell it to them for $5,000. It's that easy. Do that twice and you just made $10,000.
Wait a minute. What?
Wait a minute. There's an arbitrage situation here that only teenagers. This must be like, you know how you can play, there's like a whistle that old people can't hear, but young people can.
Yeah, or dogs. Yep.
And so I think that they're basically saying, go drive around, find underperforming properties, and then you'll easily be able to sell them to unsophisticated real estate investors. People who do this for a living.
Who actually have the money.
You're going to be able to go convince them. Essentially, is she saying bird dog it? Is that what that is?
I think that's what it is, but what kind of how's a teenager going to be able to assess if a property is underperforming? Like, what teenager has the concept? Seasoned professionals can't accurately identify those on a regular basis.
How many phone calls a day do you think we get from people trying to solicit us?
100,000 of them.
So you wouldn't take the teenager calling up to say, hey, I've got the perfect property for your business.
Yeah, Jimmy, come see me after math class. We'll talk about it. Sounds genius.